Tonight on the docket, it's official. Congressman Ron Paul is running for president in 2012. This 12-term Republican congressman is known as Dr. No for standing up and saying hell no to big government. He's staunchly opposed to America's myriad of undeclared violent and costly wars. He's a proponent of sound money, and he's as furious as I am at the Federal Reserve for destroying the value of your dollar. And he's brave enough to fight the welfare and the warfare state no matter the political fallout. He's never voted to raise the debt ceiling, and he demands, like you and I, that the government balance its books, just like you and I do. So will America say yes to Dr. No? Here now, that champion of freedom, Texas Republican Congressman Ron Paul. Congressman Paul, welcome to Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge. Good to be with you.
I think I know the answer, and I think the people behind you know the answer, but why do you want to be president of the United States?
To shrink the size of government and expand the liberty of every single American.
The signs behind you have a wonderful three-word phrase: restore America now. What have we lost that you want to restore?
Well, we got off to a grand start. It was never perfect, but we emphasized individual liberty and personal property rights like no other country ever did, and we believed in sound money. We became the freest and most prosperous country in the history of the world. In the last 100 years, and amazingly, it coincides with the introduction of a different foreign policy, the income tax and the Federal Reserve. I think we've lost our liberties, and we have undermined our economy to the point where it's more productive for businesses to go overseas, and our jobs are hurting here, and all we do is think that we can print money and spend money and get us out of this mess. And the answer is only to be found in restoring the constitutional limits on federal government to allow us to have a sound currency and believe in free markets. That is the answer to our problem. It's not that complex, and fortunately, I think the sentiment in this country is shifting in our direction, and I'm becoming more optimistic than ever.
I have to tell you, Congressman, I'm in full agreement with you. I think the sentiment is shifting in large measure because of you. I mean, 4 years ago, the Republican establishment did not want to take you seriously. Now they are forced to take you seriously, not just because of the young people behind you, but a CNN poll showing you have the best chance at beating President Obama. My colleagues Kirsten Powers and Juan Williams, Democrats, saying you are the most intellectually honest and consistent Republican. What does the Republican establishment say to you about you today?
They, in many ways, ignore me and wished I'd go away. But it's interesting. There is a shift, but I don't take all the credit for that. I have participated, but people like you and many others have been spreading a message, and you know how much I emphasize education and the internet and the young people's enthusiasm, and all these things are coming together. And you have to have a sentiment change. I believe the government is a reflection of the sentiment of the people. The values of the people will be what we have in government. So you can't sit back and say, well, it's all the government's fault. What we have to do is change the sentiment of the people. Then our representative and our president will have different views, because one individual can't do it. The people have to endorse. If we were to get rid of the Fed, if 99% of the people want to keep the Fed, you can't do it.
Right.
But guess what? The 99% no longer support the Fed. I think we're winning that argument.
What would you say is the most important issue that you'll be running on? What most resonates with the voters whose votes you seek today?
Well, in general, it's the description of personal liberty, allowing individuals to run their personal life, allowing individuals to run their economic life, spend their monies as they pick, and also that incorporates the foreign policy of non-intervention. But on specific issues that people get interested in is the budget in Washington, the debt, the obligations, certainly the foreign policy, and the Federal Reserve and monetary policy excites a lot of them. So there's a lot of issues involved, but overall, it's the understanding of how personal liberty should be our goal and how it can solve most of our problems.
Do you think the Republican Party, and I don't mean the free marketers and the people that believe in small government, I mean the big government folks, Gingrich, Romney, Santorum, do you think they're out of step with what the country really needs now? They're out of step with what the voters really want? They're yesterday's news?
Anybody that promotes government answers to problems that the government created, no, I don't think. I think they are out of step. Unfortunately, for the last many decades, they have been the status quo. You know, even when Republicans say one thing about reducing the size of government, take, for instance, the Department of Education. When Republicans had a chance to do something about it, they doubled the size of the Department of Education. So, but I think that's passing now. And I think the status quo is no longer what the people want. And that's what the Tea Party movement and the Freedom Movement is all about. We're tired of the status quo promoting something that is not good for the people, and it violates our Constitution. So for that reason, I think we should be optimistic that the momentum is in our direction, not in the directions of those who represent the status quo and continuing with more government involvement and authoritarianism.
Congressman Paul, I know you have a busy day. We appreciate the time you've given us. God bless those wonderful people behind you. And thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Thank you, Judge.